Welcome to Survivor, John. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. I'm excited. This is, what a show. What a show. So many production assistants here. This is exciting. I think we've got something really special for our viewers tonight. This is our last show of 2023.
That's true.
And so I thought we would do a special episode what we're calling Survivor. And this is, what is it? Outwit, outlast, and outplay. Right. And so we've got a whole bunch of challenges for all of the pundits out there. And of course, for anybody who might be on the production team at Survivor, we probably need to do this public service announcement. This show is satire. And so not think that we don't think that this is actually
serious?
Survivor.
Wait a minute.
And
now.
We're not actually trying to have people think this is a real Survivor.
This is a put on.
Well, in the past, people have made the mistake of thinking that we seriously are trying to use their likenesses. And so this is a satire. Well, what's the other term that they use? Satire or
parody?
Parody, right? So there's a parody. There's a parody of Survivor, and that's why on my video I spelled it Survivor with an E, because it's a little bit different, just a little different. So we got a lot of content to get to. Yeah, you see. So we got a lot of content to get to tonight. Some things that happened this week that we're going to talk about before we get into the Survivor challenges, but the art department really outdid themselves this week. It looks like we've got all the big names in COVID. Looks like we've got all the big names in, progressive law. I think I see Merle Nass there holding up one of the great molecules. And it looks like Peter McCullough. It looks like Peter McCullough there in his Speedo. That's a good look. I think I see Pierre Corey and Bob Malone, who is wondering how many fingers do I have on this hand, right? So he's not very good. I don't think he's not very good. And that looks like Viva Fry.
Long pants right? To the beach.
Yeah. So there's Viva Fry in the yoga position. So he's about to do some serious yoga. Very exciting crew here.
Oh wait, I have a serious question about David Freiheit. Doesn't it seem like he has just begun talking about? There was something he was talking about that I was like, wait a minute, was he talking about the flu or, he was talking about the disappearance of the flu. And I was like, wait a minute, why is he suddenly getting into this? And how could you talk about this and not talk about John's stuff?
Right. Well, it's interesting. Well, he's on the island. And so I'm sure he'll be a great competitor. And we've got a lot of great challenges. So let's see what we've got. Let's take a look at our deck.
I made one mistake. I should have had Bob Malone's shark jump somewhere back there.
Well, I like the fact that he's looking at you like, I'm not sure I can count to 5. So I think that's good. All right. So let's forge ahead. We got a lot of content to get to tonight. We've been talking about this pandemic thing now for almost 4 years. And for those of you who aren't yet following me on Twitter, Jason talked me into getting back on Twitter after I got kicked off of Twitter. And since I rejoined Twitter, I now have broken through 25,000 followers.
Congratulations.
And yes, that's pretty good considering I had none 2 years ago. So I've been back on. Yeah, so I've been on Twitter now for about 2 years. I've been back. I've posted over 50,000 posts. And one of the things I've noticed is there's a bunch of people who've been on Twitter for far less time that have more followers that post sort of less, I don't know, what would you call it? Less stimulating content. I'm always posting videos and charts and things that move and things like that. And so it's always surprising to me when I see people and I'm like, well, who's that?
But what about the numbers? 80,000. How many posts do they have? Is it a lot more?
Less than me. No, less than me. Been on for less time, have more followers. And again, it's like the content, it's like, what are they saying that's that exciting?
But just those two things right there. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but that's a little bit of a subjective thing. Like maybe somebody else thinks their content is good. The fact that it's less time, less posts, and they have more followers, that's interesting in and of itself.
Mm-hmm. And again, my content's pretty high stim. stuff. It's videos and charts and crap like that. So, we've been doing this together now. I was thinking about, we started our podcast in 2019. And so December 31st, the end of the year 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, and now we're at 2023. This is our 5th.
That's good.
End of year podcast.
No Kevin Sorbo this year.
No Kevin Sorbo this year. But I think one day the show was on a Christmas day and we didn't do the show, but I don't think we haven't missed a show in 5 years. And, given that we've been through a pandemic for 4 of them, that's pretty good. I think that's saying something, so yeah. For whatever it's worth. Now, the other thing that, we've talked about on the show, you can go to the next slide. One of the things we've talked about on the show is that we kind of go by thickness around here. And by that, I go by body count.
You got to explain that to people. You can't just say that.
Which part, the thickness or the body count?
Well,
which one? Which one first? Okay, so thickness, we go by thickness as a joke from Stephen Wright, who meets a girl at a bar, and he's talking to the girl, and she says, "Your socks are a different color." And he goes, "Yeah, but I go by thickness, so they're the same." And it's just such a bizarre, and that's kind of how I live my life, and it's kind of how I work with socks too. It's like, for me, all that matters is it's the same weave. I don't care if one's red, one's green. It doesn't matter. It's port and starboard. So that's fine. The net of it is, I'm interested in deaths. And so when I look at the revelations of somebody like Edward Snowden, who told us all about, PRISM and this backdoor stuff, and how the NSA is able to do this and do that, and they're monitoring the phones and all that. But there was nobody dead. At the end of the day, all of his revelations, there were no dead bodies. It wasn't like, and if you go to Microsoft and you go in this back door, there's 6 people lying. There was none of that. There were no dead bodies in the Edward Snowden revelation. It was all just about snooping. It was about how we were listening to Angela Merkel's phone calls, and how your SMS messages and your text messages are, being picked up by the NSA and stored. Right. So that was basically the revelation. And based on that, they took away his citizenship, revoked his passport, and he's been living in exile for 10 years. Now, Julian Assange, on the other hand, published a video of 12 people being shot from a helicopter. 2 were Reuters journalists. And that's probably the thing that Julian Assange has published that has the highest body count as far as people that got killed. And he published something that embarrassed the government. 12 people were killed in this attack, or whatever you want to call this, massacre. And as a result of that, Mike Pompeo said, well, let's poison him. Let's poison Julian Assange. Hillary wanted to drone him, but the Ecuadorian embassy is like in downtown London, right? So droning him in the embassy is a little messy. Yeah. So Mike Pompeo wanted to come up with a plan to poison him and kill him. All right. And he exposed the murder of 13 people. No, go back. He exposed the murder of 13 people. Our first investigation, we exposed the killing of 60 people and a cover-up. It was incredibly embarrassing to the government. But I didn't need help from anybody with passwords to get into anything like Chelsea Manning did.
Yeah, you make a good point. That's the lawfare aspect of it, where they find any little aspect of it at all. And that's exactly right. They're saying that because they're alleging that Julian Assange helped Chelsea Manning break into some system, helping him try to find a password, that it's no longer covered by the protection of New York Times v. Sullivan because he assisted in the theft. Whether that's true or not, we don't know. But
and that's why we've kind of broken the model here, right? So Edward Snowden was a contractor. I forget if he was with McKinsey or Boston Company or something. He was with one of those contractors. Wasn't it McKinsey? It wasn't McKinsey, Boston Group, Bain. It was a contractor working at NSA. He was at NSA, but I forget. Somebody will say it. So somebody will put it in the comments. So Snowden was.
Booz Allen.
That's it, Booz Allen. Okay, so Booz Allen Hamilton. So he's a contractor at Booz Allen, but he's working for the NSA. And so he signed a contract. He signed a NDA agreement. And because it's national security stuff and he's got clearances.
Oh, yeah. He's violating all kinds of things.
Right. What they're not accustomed to is people simply figuring out their bullshit cover-ups. They're not used to this. And people doing it simply using materials that are openly available.
Right, that's the thing. They don't have anything to hook us on. Now, I got to pause you for a quick second, John, because we got a lot of people in the comments wanting to know about some of the beef with some of these people here in the thumbnail. So we got to talk about that. But before we do, I also want to remind everybody that Sunday nights now, they're going to be able to watch Web of Deception. And what I've done for people who are on Odyssey, and this is free, so if you're not on Odyssey, go to odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. I've made a playlist of all of the Web of Deception episodes, so people can just tap on this playlist tab and watch all of these Web of Deception episodes. Don't forget, if you want to watch the full thing, you got to become a sponsor on subscribestar.com/IamJohnCullen, patreon.com/IamJohnCullen, odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, or any of those other things. But it's an awesome series, John, and people are loving it. So, but can we, for people who are chomping at the bit, they're surprised that Merle Nass and Viva Fry are appearing on this Survivor Island. Can you give people some idea of what, because I don't even know what you're going to talk about. Sure. I just made the image.
Yeah, we got to go back. We have to go back to the slide with Julian Assange, because I haven't explained what that's about yet. And yes, I'll explain everything about Merle Nass and all that in a minute. So let's go back. So the point here is that Mike Pompeo wants to kill Julian Assange for sharing with the public that the government was responsible for the killing of 12 people. And for that, we want to kill him. I was invited to a picnic with Mike Pompeo. Speaking of poisoning people, Mike Pompeo wanted to poison Julian Assange. And I was invited to a church picnic. I'm not going to say who invited me, but I was invited to a church picnic privately in an email to meet Mike Pompeo. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. All right, let's go to the next slide. This week, the story breaks that NASA has launched a mission to send Osiris to meet Apophis. And all of a sudden, everybody's taking the Apophis story seriously as of this week. They're sending the Osiris.
Is this Planet X?
Well, no. Planet X, I think, is what Shep was talking about before, which is most stars are binary stars. Most stars have another star, and they go around each other. Having a single star, it's kind of rare. Most of them are binary stars. And when you look at sort of, I've said this before, when we do the asteroid trajectories and the projections, they've been off by over 100,000 miles.
That's surprising.
Well, in other words, might there be something out there outside of Pluto? Might there be a tiny black hole that's gravitationally large, but physically small? In other words, in the world, the black holes, gravitationally, it's in a lock with our sun, and the two of them go, but we can't see it. I don't know. That may be what this Planet X thing is. I don't know. This is an asteroid. It's as big as the Eiffel Tower. It's 1,000 feet across, 300 meters across, and that's Apophis. And so they're sending this Osiris to see what they can do. And now they're already talking about sending nukes. And somebody just sent me a couple hours ago an invitation for February 2024. NASA is having an all hands on deck. If you've got a good idea for how to deflect Apophis,
what?
Join the Zoom call with your ideas, because right now it looks like we're gonna nuke it. We're gonna send a nuclear. Yeah. So
that doesn't sound so.
You heard it here first, kids. 5 years to live, 5 years to die. I'm not optimistic. So we'll see what happens. Now, the next slide, a lot of people have said, well, if that's the case and you could go move anywhere, would you go back to Thailand? And the answer is no, I'd go there. And that is Bora Bora.
There's nothing there. It's just water.
That's Larry Page's house. Larry Page and his hot blonde wife live in Bora Bora. That's it, baby, right in the middle. Couldn't be further away from anything, right? That's Australia. Get food and stuff. In Bora Bora, I think they have hotels and they have supermarkets. They ship and fly stuff there, right? So stuff arrives by plane and by cargo, right? So there's all kinds of hotels and stuff. It's Bora Bora, man. That's the idea. You want to be remote. You want to be away from all the bedlam and all that. So
you're moving to Bora Bora?
Well, if I can. We'll have to see.
I saw this. This was disconcerting. Yeah. Zombie deers. What are they doing?
Well, that's the thing. It's like the zombie deer disease. This is like bomb cyclone. It's like I leave the country for 6-7 years. I come back and it's like there's all new lingo. What the hell's a bomb cyclone? Yeah, what the hell is that? So zombie deer disease. It's like, really? You guys can say that with a straight face?
Yeah.
So I had to find out, okay, so what the hell is this? What's this all about? So if you go to the next page. It's like a regular deer. Well, wait till you see what it really is. It's
encephalopathy.
Dude, it's prion disease. This is like the Jacob Creutzfeldt. This is mad cow. This is folding.
Where does that come from again?
I don't know. It's the prions. It's folding proteins.
No. This had something to do with a crazy guy associated with Son of Sam, right? Gadusek or something was doing something with his prions.
I don't know. There's a disease called like Jacob Creutzfeldt, and then I'm probably butchering it.
I think this has something to do with Son of Sam.
Creutzfeldt Jacob disease, yeah, and there's Gerstmann-Strauss or something syndrome, but these are prion diseases, and it is fatal.
Oh,
this is not good. Yeah, this is not good stuff. So don't kiss any deer.
The deers?
If you kiss it on the mouth, so don't kiss the deer. I don't know. What the hell do I know about transmissibility?
What if you eat it?
Reindeer? I guess if it's got folded prions and mad cow disease, you don't want to eat the deer. Yeah. So if you see a deer and you're hunting and you yell at the deer and the deer doesn't move, I wouldn't eat that deer. That would be a zombie deer,
so
right?
Tim is saying mad deer disease comes from a lab, y'all. Is that true?
Could be. I don't know, dude. I'm reading transmissible spongiform encephalopathies.
Yeah, we don't know.
All I know is
gain of function
it's real and it doesn't sound good, right? It's telling me it's fatal. It's prion disease, which we know isn't good, right? That's folding proteins, right? It's just bad, and it's real, and it's deadly. Don't go kill a deer and eat it. Wait a couple months. This doesn't look good. All right, so here's what we got on.
Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. This is this guy. Yeah. So here's Carlton Gadusek. This guy, he recognized that diseases like Kuru and Creutzfeldt-Jakob disease were caused by a new infectious agent that had not yet been identified. Further research on the Scrapie agent, Scrapie? What is that word? By Stanley Prusiner and others led to the identification of endogenous proteins called prions, the cause of the disease. So this guy, Carlton Gadusek, he's nuts. Do you know anything about him?
No,
he won the Nobel Prize for his work on the brain disease, and he died. But here's the crazy part. He was an insane pedophile, and he was prosecuted for that. There was a whole big thing. Here it is. Unrepentant pedophile. Look at that. Los Angeles Times. What do you think of that?
It's delightful. Who knew that the zombie deer would take us to the unrepentant pedophile?
Well, I'm just saying, if this guy's doing the research on it, who knows? I mean, he's obviously, something's wrong with the way his brain works if he's an unrepentant pedophile. And if he's messing around with deer prion, whatever that disease is, how do we know what these idiots are doing?
I don't think we do.
Actually, Dr. Judy said she was aware of this guy.
Really? I never heard of him.
Oh, yeah. I asked her about him.
All right. Well, we've got a whole bunch of challenges, though, for the island. And I'd like to get a couple in before we have to leave our YouTube audience. All right. So challenge number 1. When did the first person die from COVID?
Oh, that's for Bob Malone. Got to ask
Bob
Malone.
So Bob. So let's see what Bob has to say. So Bob, what do you think, Bob? When did the first person die from COVID, Bob? Well, according to the WHO, they said that the first person died on January 11th, and that's when they reported it. But Bob Malone said that that's not true. And he said that there's many deaths. So Bob Malone is really the first one that's going to get kicked off the island, because that's wrong, Bob. We go, the WHO declared the pandemic, Bob. We're not going by guys you know in China named Ping Ling, okay? Just because you know a guy named Ping, and he doesn't know the dentist from the ophthalmologist. So because you know a guy named Ping Ling, that doesn't matter, Bob. We go by the WHO's data. The WHO declared the pandemic, and the WHO says first guy died January 11th. So unfortunately, Bob Malone appears to be the first one who's going to get kicked off the island. And again, we're using WHO data here. So everything that we refer to here in the Survivor Challenge and on the show, it's official data from the WHO. So according to the WHO, the first death was January the 11th. Right? And you can go to the next slide and show people another example from the WHO. They've tweeted it with black backgrounds, with white backgrounds. You go to the next slide. Right? And there you go. January 11th. Right? We've got 41 cases, and we sent you the sequence, and we got one guy dead. So there you go. So January 11th is a magical day.
Hasn't everybody been just avoiding this whole thing about why they send the sequence? They just say because they knew nobody wants to answer. How did they know?
Right.
No answer.
Yeah. That was Charles Rixey. Rixey said they knew it was going to spread. I'm like, why? Why would you know it's going to spread if nobody's dead yet? I should have included him on the beach, but the beach was getting full. Okay. All right. So we also heard from the Straits Times about the second death, and we hear about the first death. So they tell us. So in other words, we're not just hearing it from the WHO.
Do they have a China Gay Times?
Well, this is for the Straits. Yeah, this is for the Straits, and then there's the gays. Yeah, the gays Times.
Different newspaper.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure how popular that is in China, though. But this again. So in other words, we're not just citing the WHO. We've got Reuters. We've got the Straits Times. We've got a whole bunch of different journalists telling us the same thing. Yet Bob Malone on the next slide continues to insist that his data in the first person is the definitive data.
What is he even talking about with that? That's a Robert David Steele
what
nonsense
he thinks.
Statement.
So meaning what he thinks.
But isn't it a weird way to say it?
Yes, in the first person. What I think in the first person is the definitive truth.
Like you're editing an English paper or something.
Yeah, dude. We're talking about a pandemic that was declared by the WHO. The WHO
We got one more minute here before we're heading over.
All right, let's go to our next challenge. We're going to scroll ahead, challenge number 2. Before you get to challenge number 2, though, right before challenge number 2, I went and looked at Google Trends for Dr. Robert Malone. Nobody was really talking about him until the vaccines came out or something. It's like, in other words, he wasn't really in the...
This is him?
He wasn't really in the conversation in, April 2020, June 2020. He wasn't saying, "Hey, something's up here." All right, one more challenge, and then we got to go to our patrons where the challenges
was that like
get really
thousands
exciting.
of people looking for him, and it went from zero to many?
Yeah, after the vaccines came out, but before that, he wasn't really in the scene. All right, so how many days later, after the first person died of COVID, did the second person die of COVID? Don't go to the next slide. I want to see if the audience knows this. How many days? So they told us the first guy died January 11th. When did we find out? So the next guy died what day?
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
4 days later. So 4 days later,
I'm paying attention.
Got 2 guys dead. We've got 2 guys dead. Okay? We've got 2 guys dead. Right? This is very exciting, right?
Okay,
we're up to 2.
Hey, we're out of time. We've got to.
What a shame. What a shame. Because in the time it took us to get to 2 dead in China, we've got 8,000 dead in America. And nobody noticed that on the island. None of the survivors noticed that. Well, we'll see how many of them will be sticking around because we've got a whole lot more challenges here. So if you guys aren't on Patreon or Subscribestar, shame on you. You really need to get with the program.
Join us there. John is about to vote, I think, all of these people off the island. So if you are curious to know why.
Well, we've got a shaving contest coming up, and that's going to be exciting. So I'm looking forward to shaving Pierre Corey's back. I'm looking forward to that.
Oh, my God. All right. Well, we're not going to do that. He's joking about that. But we'll be back in 5 minutes. Please join us. Thanks for